Hello, I'm Terry Sacka, Chief Strategist, Wealth Transfer News, and I'm along with Dr. Charles Vance. We've been on an exciting topic with China and the new inclusion into the SDR basket, which is the global reserve currency system controlled by the IMF or the West. Wait until we continue to show you how this is going, because we're telling you that China has a mirror financial system, and I think they're preparing for when these fiat currencies in the West collapse, specifically Europe, and which is great. Right before we came on, our producer, Stephen, just notified us of an article that came out, Europe on the EU on the verge of collapse. And this is a very interesting strategy. They don't have to exactly take the dollar down if they can take the euro down, but if that euro goes down, so does the dollar. Well, so I'm along with Dr. Charles Vance. How you doing, Charles?
So good, Terry. Somebody gets the cut, don't they? If something happens to a monetary, one of the pie pieces, then that pie piece is going to shift over to somebody else's dominance.
And when we're tens and tens and tens of trillions in the hole, if we were to take a cut, how is that going to impact we, the people's buying power for the future? Well, if you think we have inflation now, wait till you see what's coming.
It would be a hyperinflation because there would be so much currency that was thrown back into the system that it would just be catastrophic for something like that to happen.
And it's all based on fiat. Now, we've talked about this. We've talked about how this is all a reserve currency of fiats. Now, people ask, why would China care to be in the IMF fiat basket if they're so strategizing with gold? Well, I contend I did it mainly for an international stamp of approval for credibility. I contend they did that to show the world, yes, we have risen. A year ago, we took over the United States as the world dominant trading nation, and we wanted to show the world that we are now currency-wise equal. They know these currencies are collapsing. And the EU is on the verge. Wait till you see when we get into, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to outline as we kind of go from China to show you why the West is going down. When you see Deutsche Bank and the Italian banks and what's happening there, and that EU currency goes down, something's coming out of it. And I contend somehow the SDR is going to step up because it is controlled by the West. They're going to bail out some system. But anytime this happens, gold and silver would be the best thing you could own at that time, because the papers are going to be worthless, literally, and worth less in buying power. And so the Chinese...
You were showing, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, that was you going there, right?
You were showing on the map...
who was buying all the gold
Who was buying the gold and the silver. And I mentioned to you, I read a major book by a couple major writers probably 10 years ago, and they said, watch what China and India does. And it was a book on finances. And you can see what they've been doing.
They've been doing it. And
yes,
they said that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, that I think we should just say who it was.
Well, at least it was Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki.
Donald Trump
they wrote
and Robert
a book,
Kiyosaki.
Why We Want You to Be Rich was the title of the book.
And Trump knew back then. That's why you hear Donald Trump, by the way, talking a lot about China. He knows. Now, you know, I just know he knows, and regardless how this whole thing is he knows. He knows. And so, yes, they've been buying the gold and the silver globally for quite some time. Now, what's Russia doing in the Middle East? Remember, Russia has been instrumental in the attack on the United States dollar in form of petro. So you see, the petrodollar means back in the 70s, when we kind of orchestrated all this, Nixon was a great liar. When he did this with Kissinger, they knew they were never going back to the gold standard. But what they also did, besides come off the gold standard, they went to Saudi Arabia, who controlled OPEC and all oil exports and production as a group. And they said, listen, Saudi Arabia, we, the United States, we will protect you militarily if you guarantee that all crude oil in the world has to be bought in an American dollar. It was really brilliant, to be honest. Problem. Because the world needed dollars to buy oil, they needed dollars in their central banking system. Thus, born the American dream. Everybody needed a dollar. We became a wealthy and prosperous nation. but it was all fake.
But Terry, that gives us the ability, or would give the Federal Reserve Bank system in America, the ability to print a whole lot more money.
Absolutely.
Put a whole lot more money in a system that was buying and selling, which causes our economy to work. Otherwise, our economy doesn't work.
Yes.
If everybody takes this and puts it in their pocket or sticks it.
That's happening right now too, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes.
or sticks it anywhere
in a mattress
and doesn't exchange it back and forth. This system breaks down, and most people don't realize that. But it breaks down because it's fake. If it were real, if we were hanging on to silver and gold or tangible assets, this wouldn't have near the effect that this does by stocking this away somewhere. Because,
and that's why you hear the term war on cash. It's because you're storing your cash in the mattress. You're keeping it in the bank. You're not spending it. And you're here. We're going to evolve into that. But the reason there's a war on cash, Charles is exactly correct. They need you to spend your money to circulate, to keep the Keynesian Western economic system alive. But I contend it's too late. We're already in the West on the verge of a massive, massive reset currency collapse. And it will reset. They will survive. They always did in history. But it's going to hurt those who are not protected. It's going to hurt we in the kingdom with all of your hard-earned assets stuck in the paper world like stocks and bonds, and you're not properly preserving your wealth when this wealth transfers.
But let me ask you this question, because last week you mentioned on the program that there could possibly be a new American currency that evolves, because this has happened.
Well, we've had how many? About four.
This is the fourth national bank that we've had. So, but if we look at history and see the last 3 times that happened, people only got to exchange for the new currency
a lot less.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yes, that is my point.
So that's very, very dangerous. If you have silver or you have gold, and I want people to realize how simple this is to sell this for any kind of currency.
That's true.
This is so simple that all you have to do is go to a local pawn shop or a coin shop or a bank or anywhere.
No,
sorry.
They hate it now. It used to be the bank. It used to be the bank.
Anybody, you can find all kinds of folks that will trade or just purchase the silver for currency. Just in a heartbeat. It's so easy, but it's so important for you to have something that is stable. You mentioned this last week, that when this goes down, this goes up, but really what happens is this always stays the same.
Yes.
And it appears like it's going up because this trading value, you have to have so much more currency because they print so much more of this. You have to have so much more currency to trade for this now that everything becomes more valuable, and this has more buying power. Just like you mentioned last week, gasoline. How much more gasoline 20 years or 30 years later you can buy with this than you can a dollar bill or a $100 bill,
right.
Whatever the case is. We just want to encourage you. Most of you know that Terry owns and operates the president of Cornerstone Asset Metals. They mint these coins, and these coins are so cool. Stephen, switch Terry's camera on because you can see a great shot of the coins behind him, the front and the back. They're Judeo-Christian.
4.9 too, 4.9 technology purity and hallmarked, which is an incredible feat in its own. It has a hallmarking on it that is LBMA Shanghai COMEX certified hallmarking, which makes it a bank transaction level purity. Now, they're not going to want to do that because it's Christian. But it just shows you it's the highest level purity silver coin in the country, and we get to use that, and here's why I love it. It's a First Amendment protected coin.
Because?
It's loaded with scripture.
Exactly.
And back in the 30s when they took gold and silver from people, they didn't touch your jewelry, your crosses, your religious items. This is technically a religious item because it's loaded with scripture. It's 100% Judeo and Christian in its presence. Therefore, it's a First Amendment protected freedom of religion. So they have to destroy the Constitution in order to take it from you. It's not bullion in the depository for IRAs. It has its own shelf. and its own code. It's pretty cool.
So
blessed, if you can't even imagine.
It's I think it's brilliant. I think it's something God gave.
Well, that was all Holy Spirit. It definitely was not me. Yeah,
I believe it was God gave it to you. Yeah. And I just want to encourage people. Here's what people do: is while everything is flowing okay, you know as well as I do. You sit and think, "I'll do it later." It's okay. Everything's. I know people are talking. I see Terry and Charles. I know. But everything's still okay. And a lot of times people wait, the old saying is, to build a gate after their cow gets out. It's too late then. Don't do that. If you're watching this program and you've watched more than one of these programs, you know what's going on financially in the world. I want you to get prepared. Terry wants you to get prepared. I had to talk him into doing this program, what was 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah, we're now in our fifth year.
He did not want to do this. And I said, you owe this to the people of the United States, and you owe it to Christians to tell them what is going on in the world financially so that they can get prepared. We want to encourage you to get prepared. You can do it. You see this right on the bottom of the screen. You can contact Cornerstone Asset Metals. They're not going to pressure you into something, but they're definitely going to help educate you. You can get a package. You can call that phone number that you see on the bottom of the screen. It's toll free. Just pick up the phone. Call now. Don't even put it off. Don't watch the rest of the program. It's that important.
You can go to the wealthtransfernews.com and actually watch the program. So that's one thing I would encourage you to do. You could always follow me on Twitter, Terry Sacka. But you could go to wealthtransfernews.com. You could always watch all the past television programs. Get enlightened and educated, because this is that vital. Because here's the key. We left off showing you how China and India were buying all this gold and silver. Here's Russia's central bank for you. Oh, wait, let me do this. This is Russia's central bank gold reserve. Look at that graph and how they've increased. Russia has literally sold all of its U.S. treasuries and is now in position in gold. Russia's becoming extremely wealthy in the way they're handling it, and we keep putting sanctions on them, and they keep prospering. Their markets are exploding. They are buying a tremendous amount of gold. Now, what people don't know, Russia's buying the gold, India's buying Iran, the Middle East, China. Now, we talked about China, the reserve currency. What people don't know is China's currency wasn't its own currency. It was pegged to the U.S. dollar, meaning China got a value by a weight and measure next to the U.S. dollar. I contend now that they are a global power, they're depegging from the dollar. They depeg from the dollar, it is a massive kick right in the knee of the U.S. dominance, superiority in trade and global finance. Now, we're still going to be here, mind you, but we cannot afford a major kick in our credibility and authority because we have tens of trillions of dollars printed, tens and literally almost 100 trillion in obligations and bills we need to pay for the future. We cannot afford to lose our authority. That's why I have a feeling we're pushing for war. So there's a lot more to this, because I believe the depegging of the Chinese currency to the dollar is one more nail that puts the dollar down the path of complete ending of its time. It literally is going to end. And I believe it'll be retooled. I think we get a new dollar, comes into a new global currency, but it will lose its teeth. That's why you're seeing such a tremendous amount of energy towards war and distraction. And that's why those charts are going straight up. We've been printing trillions. We're in the last leg of this. Are you protected? Are you preserved? Get an education, please. Register for information. Give us a call. Here's a good place to get started, because if anything, the best investment is to be educated.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those of you who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you who have cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call our toll-free number or register on our website now.
Terry, you've said this, I don't know how many times in the last couple of weeks, end of the dollar, end of the dollar, end of the dollar.
It's like under my breath.
Well, you were saying it during the
I know,
promo.
it's like it's...
And you know better because our mics are on, but you were doing it anyway. You're like subconscious saying the end of the dollar, the end of the dollar. These folks know that this can't keep going. The Federal Reserve
banking
banking
this is by
system,
design. Yes, I do.
they know that it can't keep operating. It's never happened in history, not just the history of the United States, but the history of the world in all of time.
That's right.
Fake money has never lasted because...
Well, that goes back to 600 BC Lydia.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, that's excellent. Every fiat currency ever created in history has gone to zero. Charles is really on fire these last few weeks. His points are really on point. Zero. Every one of them. And I believe, and he's exactly right, this has been set up from the beginning to go down. They use it all they can to do the global power shift, and then they collapse it and start over again. We, the people, get hurt in the middle of that, though. That's the problem.
People think that if they're average folk just taking care of business and they listen to a couple guys like me and you that are on fire about this, they think, these guys are just, they're extreme. And bless them, bless their little hearts. They're just extreme about this stuff. But all you have to do is look at history. We are extreme. There's no question. I'm extreme about this.
You know what, Charles? You know what? I'll take that. But here's what I'll say to him. In the last 15 years, where's your portfolio in paper? Do you know if you were in silver the last 15 years, your $100,000 IRA is worth $500,000 today? Is your portfolio in the last 15 years up 400%? So you see, it's not about extreme. It's about being educated. I just believe we've been so brainwashed the last few decades that somehow this had value when all along it was losing buying power, when we should have been in our constitutional US dollar known as silver, biblical money, silver. We should have always been there. We'd be infinitely wealthier today because say you had a $500,000 IRA. In the last 15 years, that $500,000 is worth well over $2 million. I would probably contend to say most portfolios aren't even close because in 2008, you lost probably half of it. You just got back to where you are. But here's the problem. If you've broken even from 2008, you haven't. Because the buying power of this dollar has lost 40%. That's how much inflation we've had over the last 8 years. And you see, so on paper, it looks like your stock portfolio came back, but you've lost buying power. Where if in 2008, you would have had this, you would be up literally, well, no, 2008, even the last 15 years, you would be up hundreds of percent in buying power. So there's a real perception issue here. It's all perception. Systems of the world ran by who, Charles? What does the Bible say is God of the world?
Satan's the God of this world.
Lucifer, that's right.
My brother Mike is my older brother. He's 4 years older than me. When he was about 10 years old, I would have been 6 years old, he used to trade me nickels for dimes.
That's great.
The reason, no, it wasn't great, Terry. It was great for him.
Yeah.
The reason he did that is because he said, it was bigger than the dime. Now, wait a minute. See, we're laughing. We think, boy, that's funny. Are you a dummy? But the fact is, how about me trading you this for something? Or, hey, why don't I just trade you this because it has the same value?
Right.
Do you believe it has the same value? Because no, wait a minute. Do you believe this has the same value? Or do you believe this has? What if I could convince you by trading this with 100 more people that they would trade this for something valuable? Then would you trade with me? And that's what people have done with this system.
Yes.
They have convinced people that this has value, it's worth something, but the fact is the only reason it's worth anything is because people have believed that it's worth something.
Well, and
they've traded for it.
And let's show them where that started. Now, the reason we bring this up, the dollar gained its dominance when we won World War II. That's the standard bearer. When you win the Great War, you get to control the rules. You control the military, you control the global trade and finance, you make the rules. Your currency rules. That's what happened to us after World War II. In the 70s, we became so broke because of Vietnam, we had to get off the gold standard, so we created this fiat system, lied to the American people, it's just temporary, when they knew it never was. We also made the deal with Saudi Arabia. It wasn't enough just to be the dominant superpower, because remember, we had the Soviet Union back then, so we weren't technically the world superpower. We needed some assurance that the world would want the dollar. Walk in the petrodollar. That's right. Henry Kissinger there over my shoulder. You got the Saudis, and then good old Nixon, who took it down. The petrodollar scam has been breaking down, and I mean severely. We have in the package we send to people that have IRAs to protect. We will send that out to you. It's on our website as well, like in Cornerstone, and different categories of silver as well as investing, explaining their 11 different agreements that already took place to take the dollar dominance down. Now, this petrodollar arrangement with Saudi Arabia, we protect you militarily, Saudi Arabia. You then demand the world use dollars to buy oil. Thus, America prevailed. Everybody needed these. We were living the American dream. It seemed like we were all kings. Even our poorest lived like kings to the world. It worked for a while. It was a great move. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was brilliant, but we blew it. And going into this great fake war on terror, that put the nail in the coffin. We should never have done that. We should have let the banks fail in 2008. We should have done so many things different. We have been taken advantage of severely, the people, and we're losing it. That petrodollar agreement is going down. When the petrodollar deal goes down, the world doesn't need these as much anymore. Thus, we the people's buying power gets destroyed. That's why we keep hearing about economic collapse.
Why is the petrodollar going down again? Tell people.
Well, yes, and I will, because the petrodollar was the arrangement we had. Now, if you've noticed, we went to war in Iraq. Do you know we went to war in Iraq because Saddam Hussein started? Well, I'm going to show that actually. So let me do this. Here's the prediction I have. The end of the dollar is definitely what's taking place. But here's where I think this is going. Predictions. The fall of the petrodollar is this close. Why? Because we've already done it. China and Russia have already made deals together now, energy deals. They originally were doing it in the, this is why I don't understand this. They originally were doing this energy deal. It just happened about a year ago. They're originally doing the energy deal with the dollar as the peg, like it's supposed to be. We then go put sanctions on Russia. I'm telling you, there's something, they want this to collapse. I just know they do. We put sanctions on Russia. Russia, China say, forget it. We will now do this $400 billion energy deal in our own currencies. So the Russian ruble and the Chinese yuan, they swap. They say, forget the dollar. Ruined the dollar's dominance in oil. Turkey, which is now partnering up with Russia, sticking it to NATO, was getting oil from Iran and giving them gold, bypassing the petrodollar. Iraq did the same thing. It was unraveling, meaning countries no longer needed the dollar to do the oil trade. Well, if they don't need these, who's buying our bonds? And that's where all this is coming into we the people. Our ability to have buying power is disappearing. Our bonds, which is our debt, remember, we are $1 trillion every year in the hole, more. We have a $1 trillion budget problem every year. Barack Hussein Obama has been instrumental in building up more debt in his term than all presidents combined in the history of the United States. We can't keep going straight up and printing money. The petrodollar has destroyed the desire for nations to want our bonds. And Russia was instrumental in that, and that's why we're pushing Russia to war. It's breaking down in Syria as we speak right now, and we've done lengthy pieces on why that's happening, and it's playing out right in front of us.
Let me ask you this. We have all kinds of oil reserves in the U.S., and Obama has done everything that he can do to keep us from tapping them.
Yes.
Now, if we were to tap those oil reserves, in your opinion, we still need that foreign currency trade.
Yes.
Or else this system will fall apart.
That's exactly right. See, people, thank you for saying that. Most people, you think that when they hear petrodollar, you think it's just money made off of oil. Well, that's not exactly true. You're exactly correct. It's really about all the nations in the world needed these to buy the oil. So if the petrodollar goes down, they no longer need these to buy the oil.
Still going to create hyperinflation.
Absolutely,
No
because
matter.
if they don't need these, we printed trillions of them.
What are we going to do with them?
Right. What are they going to do? They're going to come home,
Yes.
thus the definition of inflation. And here's the crazy part. I'll end on this note. We're entering a period of massive deflation because baby boomers, which is the largest segment of our population with wealth to buy things to circulate our economy, is now stopping the purchases. We're going through this big generational cycle where now those who had wealth to buy things are now stopping because they're more conservative, and the millennials and the younger generations are fighting inflation and not making any money, and they can't buy anymore. Thus, prices have to come down. Here's the problem, though. If we have deflation, our Western Keynesian economic system will collapse. We are this close to something really big happening, and we're going to fill you in more now how this evolves over from the Middle East into Asia. Wait till you see this next week. God bless each and every one of you.
Get on the website, call the phone number, get prepared, get yourself in a position where that you're set, your future is secure. I'm Charles Vance for Terry Sacka. We'll be back next week, same place, same time for the Wealth Transfer News. See you then.
Are you concerned about the security of your financial future? Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you prepare for the extraordinary times ahead by protecting and preserving your assets through silver and gold. At Cornerstone, the protection and preservation of your investment is our first goal. So we are here to serve you with honesty, transparency, and respect. Take control of your future by registering on our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com or call us toll-free at 888-747-3309. Call now, 888-747-3309.